Welcome to another episode of The Brand Called You, a podcast and podcast show that brings you leadership lessons, knowledge, experience, and wisdom from thousands of successful individuals from around the world. I'm your host, Ashutosh Garg, and today I'm delighted to welcome a very accomplished tech entrepreneur from Italy and USA, Mr. Matteo Gamberale. Matteo, welcome.
Thank you. It's a great pleasure being here, and thank you for the invitation.
Thank you. Matteo is the founder and CEO of Zappy, which is the first gamified data monetization mobile app for Gen Z.
Correct.
So Matteo, let's start talking about Zappy. Tell me a little bit about this venture and what was your motivation to start it?
Well, first of all, Zappy is, as you said, data monetization app for Gen Z. What does that mean? So the motivation for creating this ecosystem was that I actually strongly believe in the right for the younger generation to actually own their data and know their value, right? The real value of their data. So what they can do, they can basically own and sell their data through our platform, and there's multiple ways to do that, right? So it feels like a game for them, right? If you go and check it out, we do not have it out yet, but we will have an alpha version coming next month, which is very exciting. So if you go and check it out on joinzappy.io, you will see that it looks and feel like a game, but it's not a game, right? So users can actually watch video ads from their favorite brands. They can answer gamified surveys, so they can basically share their preferences, their data with their favorite brands, and get in contact with their favorite brands in a way that never happened before. So there's this exchange between data and profit, of course, between the users and the favorite brands, and this allows the users to monetize their data. This is a totally different way for brands to advertise, first of all, because of course they are advertising and they're collecting the best data available, which is zero-party data and first-party data, because so far they never had a chance to do it, right? So far, what they've been collecting second-party and third-party data through big tech, right? And they couldn't collect this kind of very high-level clean data, which is zero-party and first-party, which is spontaneous data, voluntary data, everything that is like very targeted, but also from users that love them, right? So there's this exchange of data and money, of course, is a totally different way to do it. And I strongly believe that the current market situation for data is not right. That is I think it's very corrupted data that you are able to get on online, especially from the brand's perspective. And they're big tech are actually giving them right now a predictive analysis software based on this corrupted data, on this like dirty data, if you want to call it, right? So this third-party data are not creating the right predictive analysis software. And what we're aiming to do is create the best predictive analysis software based on customer behavior on our application and on data that they voluntarily shared with their favorite brands. So that's the goal.
Fascinating. And once this alpha version comes out, what you're saying is that anyone who has a game can come onto your platform.
Yes, basically they can download the app and they can play. Everyone who has a smartphone can actually do it, and it's very exciting to being able to reach so many people and so in so many different countries. We're going to start with the US, but of course we're going to expand very quickly to the entire world. So it's definitely it's going to be very interesting to know what users are going to think about this new way of earning by sharing their preferences with their favorite brands.
Fascinating. So let me ask you a few very basic questions, Matteo, about the Web 2, Web 3 for a lot of our viewers and listeners. Help me understand, what is Web 3 and how is it different from Web 2?
Yeah, so Web3 it can be called an evolution, right, of Web2. Is actually it enables new forms of interaction, if we want to call it like that. So interaction and engage as well. I mean, Web2 is not centralized, and that is the most important thing, right? Like Web2 is controlled by just a few large companies, we want to call it like that. Web3 is solely decentralized. So users is like giving back power to the users, right? So users have control and ownership over the data. For in our case, is how you monetize it, but also all the assets, right? They have complete control of their assets. That is the most important thing.
Very interesting. And what are some of the primary features of Web 3.0 that will be able to benefit the common person?
Well, there's many features where blockchain and Web3 in general can help the common person. I think, for example, I mean, the most common and the most easy to understand and see and with your own ends is finance, of course. So the banking services that you can access with blockchain is are definitely easier to access. They're faster, right? Everything you see in finance right now is better through blockchain, but it's not only limited to finance, right? It also in healthcare, for example, it could improve the medical record, right? The medical record for the data from your medical record can be improved, can be shared, can be stored in a secure way, right, and transparent way. So, and also for the data itself, right? And that's why Zappy exists, basically. So through the blockchain, we can have multiple ways and secure and transparent ways to access, store, and share our own assets and data. That is the most important thing.
Fascinating. And when we talk about blockchain and Web 3.0, can a combination of this bring in complete transparency and decentralization?
Yeah, absolutely. It's the most important thing is transparency and transparency and security is they are the key features of the blockchain, right? So the immutable record that the blockchain technology can assure is it's its most beautiful feature. Having immutable the transparency and immutability of blockchain is perfect for every single aspect of for example, supply chains, right? Supply chains, the voting system can change and can be unattackable from that point of view. All the applications where transparency and security is important, blockchain will increase, will be, will nail it basically. So
interesting. And then there is this whole new thing that the whole world is talking about, which is the metaverse.
Oh yeah.
And metaverse and the Web 3 and Web 3.0. Tell me a little bit about metaverse. And my understanding, and I'm not a technical person, but my understanding is metaverse is Web 3.0 and 3D. Is that correct?
Yeah, kind of. It's a great way of saying it and seeing the way I see the metaverse is a concept, right? It's a concept of a virtual reality shared by multiple users, right? The metaverse can be used for gaming, but not only for gaming, it can be used for social interaction and commerce, for example, right? So the metaverse itself is built and it uses the power of Web3, right? It's built on the Web3 infrastructure, right? And is a platform for creating and sharing digital assets, right, and experience, of course. So, but using Web3 and blockchain technology. So that's, the metaverse is built on top of that. It's a virtual reality that is built on top of Web3.
And yet I keep reading that there are the big FMCG brands who are acquiring real estate in the metaverse.
Correct. Yes.
How does this happen, and how does the company like Zappy benefit from the metaverse?
Well, the metaverse has many positive aspects that are not really well known yet, meaning that we can speculate on all these aspects, and that's the reason why there's a lot of land sales. There's a lot of there's a lot of money involved already into something that is not there yet. I mean, the way we we see the metaverse and at Zappy, for example, we see the replicating our own services into the metaverse, for example. It's something that we see very happening very soon. As soon as the metaverse will be adopted, and that's what the metaverse is more struggling with right now is adoption, right? So as soon as the metaverse, and that's something that will happen very soon. As soon as the metaverse will see the adoption that it deserves, we see ourselves, for example, with a very nice and cool city in the metaverse, the Zappy city in the metaverse, where you can get in contact with your favorite brands and share your data into this into the city. And the way you're doing it with your mobile app right now, you will be doing into a 3D space, into a virtual reality that will allow you to have this more immersive experience, right? Which is, of course, definitely better than just a mobile app.
And who knows, maybe you and I could be having our next conversation in the metaverse, sitting in a coffee shop in Mars.
I would love to. Yes,
playing some game on the Zappy platform.
Right. Yeah, 100%.
Very interesting. So let's talk a little bit, Matteo, about the blockchain now.
Yes.
I think blockchain is understood very, very well by a lot of people. But what are some of the areas blockchain can help us in our normal lives?
Well, yeah, as I said earlier, I mean, there's many aspects where you can see the blockchain being used. Like the voting system I was referring to earlier is something that is very easy to understand, right? Where you cannot have like any kind of corruption, right? Because I mean, everything is transparent, everything is secure, and you cannot actually change what happens, right? So the voting system, the finance system is gonna help us a lot, right? So the banking services, as I was telling you earlier, is everything is gonna be faster, easier, right? I personally think that there's a lot to be improved. Yeah, I mean, still, because of course we're very early into the technology, so that a lot of aspects of this technology need to be improved, right? And one of them, which I always refer to as one of the most important for me, but not only for me, is the user experience. So the UX of the blockchain, of the entire Web3 space, has to be improved, has to meet the standards of the Web2 space and the Web2 world. And because users, in order to migrate, right, and adopt this technology, migrate from Web2 to Web3 and adopt this Web3 technology and blockchain technology, they need to feel safe. They need to feel comfortable into using it. And the way they're doing it is by seeing the same things they are seeing on Web2. So the UX and the user interface of all the applications that are being created and developed on blockchain, on Web3, have to be better, in my opinion, have to be very similar to what they're used to in Web2, in order for them to migrate and adopt this new technology.
Fascinating. And the other question that I have is that, given that blockchain is an open, transparent platform, what happens to data security and privacy?
Well, that is a great question. So basically there's a lot of cryptography techniques that can be used into they can be implemented into this technology. So just for example, like private key encryption, both public and private, of course. I mean, there's many cryptographic techniques that can be used. But the most important thing is smart contracts. So there's a lot of functionalities into a smart contract that allow for the creation of decentralized application that can be programmed to enforce, right, this privacy and security measures. So the smart contract itself, the existence of smart contract itself, is something that allow this kind of security and privacy. So it is an open platform, but has more security that can be applied to it than a closed platform, for sure.
Amazing. And where, in your opinion, does the blockchain have challenges and vulnerabilities?
Yeah, I mean, there are some vulnerabilities. That's for sure. I mean, with any new technology, there are vulnerabilities, right? So I think hacking, potential is and malicious attacks in general to the network is one of the main concerns that we might have with blockchain. I think the regulatory challenge is the next one. I mean, in terms of potential potential vulnerability. The thing is, we're talking about many countries and many governments that may approach the use of blockchain, and every single one has its own rules, right? So and its own regulations to be applied. So I think the second one in terms of importance is regulatory challenge, and the third one, and it's scalability. Scalability and interoperability, I put them in the same level, because I think technology like it has to be scalable, right? It has to be adopted by the entire world. And right now, we do not have a blockchain that is scalable as much as we will need to be in order for it to be adopted by most of the world population. And interoperability is also very, very important. Interoperability between the blockchains, and not only between the blockchains, but between all the entire ecosystem that is built on top of that. So I think it's crucial for for protocols to be focusing on the interoperability between them and all the other protocols. That is very, very important.
But there's another perspective, Matteo, that people are talking about, and they're saying that there is already a big technological divide in the world. There are some countries, some companies which have access to a lot of technology. Some countries don't. Now we're getting into an even higher level of technology with gaming, with Web3, blockchain, Metaverse. Do you see this will divide or create even greater division in the world?
Well, that is also a great question. I personally see blockchain as a way to unify the world, not the opposite way. Yeah. I think blockchain being so easy to access, because you just need basically an internet point, right? So let's see how what internet brought to the world back in 1990. So what happened was that the world got united from internet, and of course there's still a lot of gap between countries, of course, but it's definitely better than it was before, and it's getting better and better. I think this evolution of the Web 2 technology into Web 3 is just going to help this unification between the countries, and I really hope that's also I hope, to be honest.
I hope so too. Yeah. And my last question to you, Matteo, and this is for the many people who will listen to our conversation.
Sure.
Based on your own amazing experience and your own journey, what would you say are 3 lessons you would want our viewers and listeners to take away, from all the great work that you're doing in the world of technology?
Well, I personally think 3 lessons of, let me think. So the first one could be definitely the importance of understanding this new technologies and staying up to date with this new technology. Because I mean, the more you stay up to date, the more you have an unfair advantage over who doesn't. That is the most, I think it's the most important lesson to get out of this. And of course, out of that, there is also the benefits. I mean, I'm not saying that because of Zappy, but it's also the benefits of owning your own data, the power you have by owning your own data, but not only with Zappy. I mean, with all the technologies that allow us to do so, we need to understand that our own data has a value, and we do not need to just give it away like that. We need to understand the value of it and monetize it if we can. And of course, the impact of all these technology, we need to think about the long term of it rather than just the short term of it. So the potential and the societal impact that these technology can have on the long term, we need to think about more about that than just a short term like commercial prospects of it. So I think it makes definitely more sense.
Well said, well said. And on that note, Matteo, and your 3 amazing lessons, which is number 1, you said was then understand the importance of understanding new technologies and stay up to date. Second, you said that all your data has value, don't give it away. Without really understanding and appreciating the value of your own data. And third, which you said is so powerful, which is take a long-term view of technology, because only long-term views will really be able to take into account the benefits that this technology can give to us.
100%.
Thank you so much for speaking to me about your own journey. Thank you for speaking to me about Web3, blockchain, the Metaverse, and of course, Zappy. I wish you all the very best. And I'm going to keep reading about you and looking out for you as you go from a unicorn to a multiple unicorn to a decacorn and everything else. Good luck and all the best.
Thank you, Ashutosh, again for inviting me here. It was a great pleasure talking to you.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to the Brand Called You videocast and podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website www.tbcy.in to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for the Brand Called You.